Om Vishwam Darpan Drishyamana Nagari Tulyan Nijantargatam Pashyannatmani Mayaya Bahirivodbhutan Yatha Nidraya Yasakshat Kurute Prabodh Samaye Svatmanamevadvayam Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namahidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Bijasyantarivāṅkuro jagadidam prāṅ nirvikalpam punaha maya kalpita deshakal kalana vaichitra chitri kritam maya viva vidrumbhayatyapi maha yogi vayasvechaya tasmai shri guru murtaye namahidam shri dakshinamurtaye Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namahidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Om. So Hinduism and religious life. What is Hinduism? First thing we'll discuss that. So, Hinduism is appropriately called as a Vedic dharma. The Hindus basically follow the teachings of the Vedas, primary text, also follows the teaching other texts which are based on Vedas, like Bhagavad Gita, Smriti we call it. Or there are other texts, Puranas, etc., certain Itihas Grantha, Mahabharata, etc. So, the teaching which is followed directly from the Veda and indirectly from other texts which is based on Veda. Whoever follows is called Hindu. And, basically Hinduism presents a view of life, we'll be seeing that, and way of life. Way of life is religious life. What you will achieve through that religious life is that view of the life, goal of the life, end of, really the human end. So both, just presenting what is goal of life is not sufficient. Vedas talked about means also to reach. And both are taught. Anyway, so it offers a very clear view of life and a view of reality which can be accomplished by a self-conscious human being. People ask this question, what is the goal of life? What is goal of life? Generally, it is asked in a mid-age, okay? Not initially. When they're 20, 25-year-old, if you want to talk about the goal of life, you say, don't talk. I'll know what I want to achieve. But after 10, 15 years of certain struggle, then they start thinking, what is the goal of life? It looks as if we have not achieved yet what we want to achieve. Then only the question arises, if you have achieved what is to be achieved, you need not ask a question because you are already a fulfilled person. We should know this. Anyway, so basically, way and view of life, and so goal of life. What is the goal of life? What is the goal of life? Goal of life is living. That's it. Death cannot be the goal of life. Because the death means I will be non-existent. Then before birth also I was non-existent. Why should I be born? Right? No, Swamiji, heaven is a goal of life. Then why should I be born here? I should directly go there. Living is a goal of life. And living means to be alive to the realities of life. Merely alive is not living. A person in a hospital also is alive, unconscious. He is not living a life. You never say that. Nobody says, Swamiji, he is living a life. Since 20 years he is in the bed. No. So you are conscious of the realities of life which has been shown by the Vedas. If you become alive to these realities and assimilate these realities, you have fulfilled the goal of life. So, this Hindu dharma, etc., was not founded by any particular person. That's a beauty. So, Krishna also did not found a religion. Krishna went to Gurukula to study Veda through Sandipani. Rama also did not found a religion because it is explicitly said that Rama was born of a certain yaga which has been described in a Veda, right? Putra Kameshti. Therefore, nobody, Rama, Krishna, etc., we accept in a tradition, Hindu tradition, as an incarnation of the Lord. That's fine. But they were not the founders of Hindu religion. They were born within the Hindu tradition and their own life basically exemplified the values unfolded by the Vedas. That is the purpose of the incarnation in a human form. Martyavatara khalu martyasya shikshanam. Out of Dashavatara, really one can learn something about the essence of the Veda, etc., from their life, because they exemplified the values which have been taught to them through the Vedas. So, and because you can relate to another human being. In a Varaha Avatara, etc., where he killed something and, Hiranyaksha, etc., or in Nrsimha Avatara, what will you learn? Because what he did, you cannot learn from anything. He killed. Out of avatars, Dashavatara, the two avatars are the avatars where they did what they are supposed to do. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanihi abhyuthanam aham srijami, etc. So while adharma, etc., has to be curbed. So that they did. They killed. At the same time, they taught also what is to be done in a life based on a Veda. Well, what is to be done in a life so that you can also achieve a goal of life. Bhagavan taught Bhagavad Gita, of course we know, and Ramayana is basically Ayanam of a Rama. Ayanam is abode, house of a Rama. If you want to learn about anybody, you should go to the person's house. You will learn. Outside, everyone is fine. Hi, bye, etc. If you go in somebody's house, then you will understand character, nature, etc. His behavior, relation with the others in the family. Everything you will be able to notice. Ramasya Ayanam, Ramayanam. Anyway, so Ayanam is abode. You can learn about Rama in totality through that. And why do you want to learn? Martya Avatara, Manushya Avatara. Wonderful. Basically, but they are not founders of Hinduism. Anyway, so, and I will now compare this with the science. We can't trace the origin of physics to a specific person or a given intellect. Everybody has some knowledge of physics, including monkeys. Yeah? If monkey would not jump from one tree to the other tree, if it doesn't have a knowledge of gravity, it may not be in a form of, oh, this is a law of gravitation. No. But they could sense the law, physical law. Even a newborn monkey also knows. Even our, the women in the house, when they are cooking, they know certain principles. They are, the chickpeas, the pulses, they want to cook. And they put on a stove in the water and, take vessel and then they boil it. They won't do. They say it will not be cooked even after 15 hours of cooking. Let's have a pressure cooker. So they could sense that under the pressure, with a less heat and less duration of cooking, they can cook. May not be knowing Boyle's law and this law, etc., but they could sense the physical law. In science also it is there. So definitely, so same way here also, this Ramakrishna, etc., are not founders of this religion. And Hindu Dharma is called Sanatan Dharma because it can't be attributed to a specific personality, as I told you. And this Sanatan Dharma is a compound, by the way. And Sanskrit, two words are combined to make this word, Sanatan Dharma, Sanatana and Dharma. And the compound can be broken in two ways. Sanatanasya Dharma. Sanatanasya Dharma means basically, well, the Dharma, the religion of Sanatana. Who is Sanatana? Who is eternal? That's the Ishvara. So basically, so it has no worldly beginning or ending. That is one. Or Sanatanash Chasau Dharmasya. With the meaning of this is, well, it is perennially flowing from one creation to the other. Vedas have this dharma, Vedic dharma, the Vedas basically, are flowing perennially. Yo brahmanam vidadati purvam yo vai vedamsha prahinoti tasmai. Well, Bhagavan in the beginning of the creation gave this knowledge of Veda to the Brahmaji, and then Brahmaji gave to others. So that is, in that sense also, perennially it is flowing from one creation to the other. That's called Sanatana. So either way you take, it is, well, the whole tradition has been initiated by the Ishvara, who is Sarvajna. Well, and that's how we say Narayanam, Padmabhuvam, Vasishtham, etc., etc. Or Sadashiva Samarambam, Shankaracharya, Sadashiva Samarambam, Samyak Arambam, which has been very well begun from the Ishvara, who is Sanatana. So Sanatana Dharma. Vedic Dharma is basically called Sanatana Dharma. The only difference between, as I compared with the physics, the only difference between the body of knowledge like physics and other sciences and the body of knowledge called Veda, the difference is when one deals with the variable reality called world, other deals with certain invariable. That's a difference, big difference, right? Certain eternal principles, that is Veda. And variable reality, that is, because all sciences belong to the world, which is a variable, which keeps changing all the time. Therefore, this is a difference between two bodies of knowledge. And even within Sanatana Dharma, well, certain day-to-day aspects of tradition might undergo a few changes. But the truth of religion will always remain the same. Any way of living, of course, involves a spirit and a form. So eternal values or principles taught in the Vedas basically form the spirit of the Hindu way of life. And their application, of course, is determined by time, place, and certain conditions. So that keeps changing. That's called form. Anyway, now this Vedic Dharma, as I said, so word Veda itself is made from the root Vid, Sanskrit root. Vid means to know. So Veda is a body of knowledge. And I will talk about it. What does it talk? And it consists of certain mantras, sacred hymns, passages, etc. And we believe that these mantras were not written or composed by the human intellect, but were instead revealed to certain rishis. And those rishis possessed a very refined state of mind due to the power of their penance, concentration, devotion, worship of the Lord. And because of their superior faculties, well, they could visualize the mantras revealed by the Ishvara. The way, the laws of nature also you can understand, a little comparison. Laws of nature basically always existed, but detected and explained by a few people, let's say, explained also later, few people who have a refined intellect like Newton or Einstein, right? So everyone was seeing the falling of the apple law of gravitation was there, but nobody was able to detect. Only one person was able to detect. So we should say he has a comparatively a refined intellect compared to the other human beings. So we can say the laws of physics, etc., also were revealed to this rishis called scientists. We can say that. So since the Vedas were basically the revealed truths and not composed by any individual or individuals, well, they are free of the defects of the human intellect. And that is the reason why we accept it. We accept the Vedas as a means of knowledge, valid means of knowledge, because they are free from the defect of the human intellect, because they are not composed. The realities which has been described there in the Vedas, the eternal principles which have been described in the Vedas were revealed to the rishis, but they are not basically composed of these principles are not composed by a human intellect. Otherwise, there are defects. Shastra describes the defects of the human intellect. We are not going into that. But they are free from that, and therefore we look upon Vedas as a valid means of knowledge. Means it gives us a knowledge, etc. And since Veda reveal these fundamental truths of life, and truth cannot have a beginning, well, so this Vedic Dharma also has no beginning. We call it as a Sanatana Dharma. This is how it is. And what does Veda talk about? Well, Veda talks about the nature of life, nature of universe, nature of individual, nature, reality of God, and the relationship between the individual and the world. What's the reality in that relationship? What kind of relationship is there? The nature of the individual, the relationship of between the individual and the God, individual and the world, individual and God. All this has been described there, which is called a view of life in Hinduism. And they also tell us how to live a life. We'll be discussing in these 2-3 lectures. So they also tell us how to live a life that is in accordance with the realities of life, which we call as a way of life, and that reflects the Vedic Dharma. We call it as a religious life. Okay? A way of life in accordance with the principles so that you can achieve what you want to achieve. Well, so that way of life is called a religious way of life. Religious life. Okay, first thing is, what does Veda talk about a God? Because ultimately, the reality of God is the reality of oneself, is the reality of the world. Anywhere you can begin. So I begin here. So begin at what is the nature of God? What is the reality of God? So the individual world and the God have the same reality, one reality behind everything. So let's understand what is God. When the word God comes, immediately we say, I believe in God, or I don't believe in God, etc. So I believe in God. That's how religious people generally say. Right? The religious people say that I believe in God. However, such a sentence basically is meaningless according to Veda, according to Vedic vision. I believe in God, Veda doesn't like this. Vedas does not ask us to believe in God, because God does not need to be believed in. In fact, Veda says, whatever you are seeing here, whatever you are perceiving here, what you are knowing here in this life, all that is here is God. And what you perceive is not a belief. What you perceive, I am perceiving you. Oh, I am believing you, you are there. No. That's what Veda says. Therefore, Veda doesn't like this, that I believe in God. Because any belief is a judgment before knowledge, and therefore subject to correction upon verification. And therefore, like you introduce some person to me, and you say, Swamiji, he's a very good person. And because I have a good relation with you, I believe, okay? I believe he is a good person. But my definition about the good person is one who helps me in certain difficulty, etc., is a good person. And it happened so that I had certain problem. And I thought this person is a good person who was introduced. And so I called him and I said, why could you help me? I am in this trouble. He refused. Immediately, that person has become a bad person for me. So I believed the other person was my friend, that he is a good person. But that's a belief. Upon verification, I found it contradictory. Yeah, right? So when I came to know, basically, you change your belief. So anyway, so this is how this comes in a verified belief, this kind of a thing. God doesn't fall into that. Second is a non-verifiable belief. And that is basically, all beliefs you cannot verify. Therefore, we will have to make a separate group called non-verifiable beliefs. And I will survive the death. Who knows? You cannot verify. You will not come back and tell that, yes, look at that, I'm a proof. My body is gone, but I'm there. Okay? And therefore, I survive the death is a non-verifiable belief. Whether I will go to heaven or not, non-verifiable belief. And even if I go to heaven, let's believe, then going to heaven, well, I will like that place, well, need not be. Because perhaps, these football matches and all these cricket matches may not be have a podcast there, and therefore I will not be able to watch. Then in heaven also I can become an unhappy person. And therefore, all this is going to heaven, I will be happy. Non-verifiable belief. There is a heaven and I will go there. Non-verifiable belief. I will survive the death so that I can go to heaven. Non-verifiable belief. All this is a non-verifiable belief. In fact, all belief-based religions are based upon these non-verifiable beliefs. That's how we call them as a faith. And although in that, all faiths, which are based on all non-verifiable beliefs, among them they always claim that we are best or we are better than the others, etc. But really speaking, we can never know which one is better, because ultimately all these faiths have a basis, in a non-verifiable belief, and therefore we cannot verify it, and therefore we cannot prove that this is better than this, etc. also. Could you follow what I'm saying? So in terms of non-verifiable belief, if the faiths or religions which has a basis in that one is better than the other, we cannot say that. We can non-verifiable belief, we use a word blind belief sometimes. Yeah, let us keep that way. However, third category, certain things look that they are beliefs, but they are not beliefs. There are certain facts that are not immediately perceptible, but can be known through inference, the means of knowledge, and therefore it is a knowledge. It is not a belief. And so they don't fall into, I will give you an example, they don't fall into the realm of blind belief. Yeah. Verifiable belief, non-verifiable belief, this is the third thing. If I ask you whether you had a great-great-great-grandfather, you would have to say yes. Then if I ask you whether you have seen him, your great-grandfather or great-great-great-grandfather, you would definitely say no. Right? You would say no. Then without seeing him, he was existent. If that's your assertion, is a belief or a knowledge? Your assertion that my great-great-great-grandfather was there. I say, how do you prove it? Well, I have seen. No, you cannot say great-great-great-grandfather. So definitely you have not seen him, then yet you say he was there. Then I should say it is your belief. He said that's not belief. Why it is not belief? Well, the proof is I am there. I am the very proof. If I am here, I should definitely have a father, father's father, father's father, father's father. And therefore, so definitely, so if you say, well, great-great-great-grandfather was a belief, then our definition of belief is which is subject to verification upon knowing. Then in subject to verification, subject to correction upon knowing. What would be the correction? Suppose I had a great-great-great-great-grandfather is a belief, okay? Then in that case, well, if it is a belief, it is subject to correction upon knowing. Do you remember what my example? I believed my friend that he was a good person, and now subject to correction is what? He is not a good person. So I had a great-great-great-grandfather was a belief. Then what? It is also subject to correction. What would be the correction? I had not great-great-great-great-grandfather. Non-existent. That's a correction. Same thing is there, it's not correction. Correction means you change it now. So means I had no great-great-great-great-great-grand. Great-great-great, I think today I am going to speak great-great-great. It's not belief. Even you have not seen him in your lifetime. You had not seen him, you are not going to see. It's not that you are going to verify. Please understand, it's not verifiable belief. It's not a non-verifiable belief. It doesn't fall under belief. Even you have not perceived, you are not going to perceive. In this lifetime, you cannot prove his existence to me. Yet it is knowledge. Indirect knowledge. Through inference. If I am there, definitely I should have great-great-great-great-grandfather. So inference, he works in this area. A doctor doesn't see, basically doctor doesn't see the cancer cells, malignant cells. Yet doctor starts treating the patient with a cancer, thinking that he has a cancer. Knowledge, not belief. Because there is a biopsy. Medical diagnosis proves, even though you don't see, you start. Just biopsy report positive. There is a cancer. There are malignant cells in the system. Even though you don't see. Perhaps you don't want to see, or you will not see also. Yeah, but you start. Chemotherapy, this, that, etc. Several things in this world. A plane lands and, takes off by inference. Not that he is seeing from that small window the whole runway. No. Maybe in takeoff, he may. But in landing, they don't. But they go by certain data that the runway is clear, etc. So many things. Most of our scientific inquiries, ultimately experiments, we call them knowledge naturally. Their conclusions we call knowledge. Well, based on inference, right? So basically, they don't see even a particle, the fundamental block in this creation. They don't never see, but they do certain experiments and prove the existence of that. It's knowledge. We can't say to scientists that, well, how you are believing in that particle. No. Anyway, so here now, the Vedic vision of this God, doesn't require your belief. The vision states that all that is here is God. Now, all that is here is what? Myself, the knower. And other than that, what is there? Certain things which are known, and majority of the things which are not known. That's called all that is. All that is equal to knower plus known plus unknown. is equal to God. This is an equation. This is called equation. Like 9 plus 1 is equal to 11 minus 1. Right? It's an equation. An equation is not a matter of a belief. In fact, to prove the equation, you understand both the sides. Yeah. Right? You understand both the sides as equal to prove the equation. And therefore, all that is here is equal to God is an equation. Equation is a matter of analysis and understanding. It could be a mathematical equation, it could be equation in a physics, it could be equation in a chemistry or anywhere else. Equation is not to be believed. You have to understand both the sides of the equation as equal. There you are proving equation. Anyway, so when we say all that is here is Lord, we are not saying that there is one God. In fact, we say that there is only God. That's a thing. And so we are not monotheist, Monotheist religion basically possesses one God and with a certain features. And then that God also, they say, is sitting in a heaven, etc. And that God also, they say that he is a male also. That's another issue. So how can God, if God is having a certain gender, means limited in a certain gender, that God will be a limited person. He cannot be limitless. And a limited God, that kind of a thing, like hot ice cream. That hot, basically, that kind of an adjective to this substantive doesn't work. Square circle doesn't exist. So same way, limited God cannot. So therefore, he is sitting somewhere limited in space. And he is having a certain type of attributes, including a certain gender. All that is, basically, is not within the realm of a certain rational approach. How can he be located in a space? Well, since space-time are a part of the universe. If God existed somewhere, basically in space-time, he could not create the space-time. He could be another limited individual, a discrete entity, subject to the laws of space and time. If he is bound by space and time, he will be subject to the space and time and subject to the changes within the time. Therefore, while he is subject to birth and death, naturally, subject to time means he was not existent before, he is there now, he won't be there later. He is subject to time, means subject to birth and death, subject to old age, because we are all subject to time, means definitely a changes in time also occur, hair goes away, etc. So basically, all changes will occur. So therefore, he cannot be within a certain, in a space, in a heaven, etc. Anything which is bound in space is bound in time. Limited in space and not limited in time won't be. You can't give me a single example. So the whole creation within these two dimensions, it's not further dimensions, but we talk about within space and time. Well, basically, that's how even Shastra does not talk about time. Tasmad va etasmad atmanaha akasha sambhutaha. You have to consider. But Swamiji, how will you know that space also is created and time also at the same time created? I will let you know. You only are example for that. We need not have to find example. We'll see that. So basically, one which is limited in space and time will be a discrete entity, individual. And then as an individual, he is naturally different from me. I am also within the space-time with a certain attributes. He is also another individual with a certain attributes. So as an individual, he would be different from me, different from you, and different from even mosquito also. And so in that case, God could not be almighty, because my might, my power is with me. He has his own power, maybe mighty, right? Maybe there are people, Like here itself, there may be people who are more powerful, physically, etc., in many aspects. So definitely he could be mighty, but cannot be almighty. If he's an individual and almighty, it's not possible. Because as an individual, he's different from me. Therefore, my power is with me. His power is with him. Cannot be called almighty. I'm leading you to the Vedic vision of God, please. Yeah, we should understand this. That when we say God, this only is possibility. And therefore, we are not trying to, basically show that other religions are inferior, etc. No. But the Vedic vision of the God basically has so much connection to your life, to what you want to achieve in your life. In fact, that's what we want. So, definitely as an individual, he is subject to illness, subject to mosquito bites also. Therefore, even mosquito would have a certain power which God doesn't have. Yeah. And the mosquito is considered more powerful than the human being. Yeah. Because generally, usually what happens is, any other animal is there other than mosquito. If you want to catch, well, what will you do? You will throw a certain trap, throw a certain net, and you catch. But when it comes to mosquito, you enter into the net, and he remains outside. And therefore, basically, you remain into the net. Therefore, definitely mosquito is more powerful than you. If mosquito is more powerful than me, the individual, mosquito is more powerful than the God as an individual. Could you follow what I'm saying? So he's subject to mosquito bites also. What a funny idea. God is in heaven. Even Hindu dharma, certain our sampradayas also talk about in Vaikuntha this, that. I don't want to go into that, but in general I'm saying that concept of God doesn't fit at all in any way. So we are seeing that. So if God is a limited being subject to space-time, and then he will be another individual at the mercy of all the bugs, including viruses and bacteria also. They also can attack. So Vedic vision is that all that is here is Ishvara, fits very well with the scientist vision. There are physicists, called cosmological physicists, who say that everything ultimately here in this cosmos is a manifestation of one thing alone. Now they are saying the God particle, etc. Right? They are also in search of one fundamental particle, one building block from which the entire cosmos is made. So they say everything is primarily made up of that basic particle. And they have the theory, how from the particle cosmos has come. They say the particles got clustered due to force, naturally. What is the force? They call electromagnetic force. We don't go into that, but the particles got clustered. And they become bigger and bigger. And when they become bigger, they started moving with another force called gravitational force. And that's how there is a movement at the grand scale in the universe. Everything is moving in this universe. The great velocity of the movement keeps everything in place. That's how scientists say when the universe stops moving, whatever the object stops moving will definitely merge into another object which has a gravitational pull, etc. Anyway, so in this way, physicists explain that entire creation is a manifestation of basic particles. All that is there is one thing alone, and that thing is a particle. We say all that is there is God. They say all that is there is particle. Then who is right, who is wrong? They are saying almost same thing. But problem is the physicists stop there at the particle. A Vedic vision goes further, probing into the essential nature of the particle. We go further, we probe further. So if everything is made up of particle, means your physical body is also made up of particles, right? Then in that case, these particles basically were able to assemble themselves to form eyes, ears, liver, heart, kidneys, right? And all this is very intelligent. So we have to say these particles must have intelligence, because the way they cluster and formed all this, very intelligent manifestation ultimately. That cluster, eye is basically a cluster of particles, ears are a cluster of particles, heart is a cluster of particles, brain is a cluster of particles ultimately. Then all that is very intelligent. Therefore, this particle must have intelligence. Anyway, so if they were not intelligent, well, they were not able to assemble themselves to form this body. So when you look at body, you find that there is a manifestation of intelligence. So much knowledge here, my God. There's a chemistry here and biochemistry and physics, mechanical engineering also is there. So many things are there. All branches of what we study in the university, all branches of knowledge are present here. That shows it is a manifestation of knowledge, intelligence. So even though it is made up of particles, particles must have that intelligence to form into a certain shape which is functioning very intelligently. Anyway, so in this way, our physical body is one body of knowledge that contains all this discipline. So we don't think that this body as a simply flesh and bones or as inert matter, because there is intelligence involved, knowledge involved, conscious being involved. Knowledge comes means conscious being comes. And therefore, if body is made up of intelligence and it is available for the knowledge, you can analyze even one sense organ, like eyes, etc., is good enough for you to see that the body is very intelligently and efficiently organized. And that's how, and that, the manifestation of intelligence is to the extent that they have not yet found a complete answer for anything. Complete answers. Still the research is going on inside. Anyway, so basically this, the various discoveries, etc., the research in the field of science, etc., reveals the intelligence of the knowledge of one conscious being, whose knowledge alone manifests in the form of this cosmos. And the hard reality, is that everything is, as an individual, now from the standpoint of individual, everything is given. Everything is given. The cosmos is given, the physical body is given, the sense organs are given, organs of action are given, the pranas, etc., are given, right? Memories, etc., all functions of the mind, etc., prove they are all given. So, and all the possibilities are given, world itself is given, and very faculty of to explore all this, right? To know that everything is given, etc. That faculty also is given to me. Your mind is given, senses are given, hand, legs are given, and so we have no say over this fact. We cannot deny this fact. Everything is intelligently given. What is not given? One thing is not given by the giver. One thing is not given, and that is ownership. Ownership is not given. So we basically own nothing. We may possess. What is given, we keep in our possession. That's that. So ownership basically is a notion. This notion of a ownership is the greatest myth in this world. And there is a proof for that. Since it is given, it is taken away also. If you are really owner of it, nobody has a daring to take. But since it is given, it can be taken away. Hair is given, it can be taken away also, okay? Body is given, can be taken away. Everything is given, memory is given, everything is given. Therefore taken away. Anyway, so everything that has been given to you has been intelligently put together. Start from the particle, nucleus, or a solar system, galaxy, cosmos, body, mind, senses, everything is put together intelligently, manifestation of knowledge. of the conscious being who has this knowledge. So, in fact, all these things, starting from nucleus, everything up to the cosmic body, all these things function because they have been intelligently arranged. Therefore, they are able to function what they function. So, definitely it presupposes a knowledge. And this is the reason why most people believe in God, looking at this creation. Problem is, they think that the God is sitting somewhere away from the creation. He has intelligently created out of his knowledge, but he is sitting somewhere. And that I told you, it will have a problem. It is sitting somewhere means he is definitely limited in space and limited in time. Then all fallacies. So God cannot be, in space and time and create this world which is including space and time. There is no such thing as outside space, because all outside is basically inside space. So this outside itself is basically a special concept. So there is only one resolution, that the space, time and everything else cannot be separate from the God. Right? Because if he is in space and time and creates space and time, cannot be. Because he is already in space and time. If he is itself in space and time, then he cannot create space and time because they were already existent. Therefore, if he creates a space and time and other objects, he cannot be separate from the space and time and whatever is there. I will give you an example, don't worry about it. So, that's how Veda says, so kamayata bahusyam prajaya. He desired that may I become many. Means may I become space, may I become time, may I become everything else. So from the standpoint of knowledge, we say that God, having this knowledge of this creation, naturally he created out of his knowledge. We call, from the standpoint of the creation which involves so much of knowledge, we call that God as a creator. Because we analyze the creation, we find a lot of knowledge, intelligence, functioning intelligently. Therefore, it presupposes knowledge. Then who was having a knowledge? God, who has created it. So the God who is a creator is omniscient, omnipotent, etc. we say. Now, from the standpoint of the creation, this material universe of names and forms that enjoy a certain degree of reality, etc., we say that creation is a non-separate from God, Ishvara, right? So he created out of his knowledge, and that his knowledge alone manifests in the form of creation, and he is non-separate from the creation. He is the material cause, he is the intelligent cause. How can you say, Swamiji, both can be different? If both are different, they should be different in space. But if the very space itself is a part of creation, then material cause and the maker cannot be separate. Right? If they are separate, like baker and loaf of bread. Baker is a maker. And the material from which a loaf of bread is made, they are separate. Separate in what? Separate in space. Right? And that is how when they are separate in space, they are different. Therefore, when you buy a loaf of bread, the baker and his family also does not come along. So therefore, that is... But here we are talking about the whole creation in which even the space is a part of the creation. In that case, maker and material cannot be separate. If maker and material are separate, maker has to ask for the material to somebody who is staying somewhere else, and he should ask about the material. There is no somebody somewhere else, etc. And therefore, in that case, material cause and the efficient cause, maker, cannot be separate. He alone is the maker, he alone is the material. That is what has been said by the Veda, so kamayata bahusyam prajaya. He desired that I became many. Let me become many. Let me become many. Therefore, he is the creator. He alone is the creation. He is the maker. He is the creation. But Swamiji, any example, we are not able to digest what you are saying. You are example. You are maker. You are material. You create exactly like this world, including space and time. You don't create space and time separately. You just see an object in a dream. As you see object, space and time are there. Right? It's not that you create first space, then time, then you place one object. No. And therefore, when you dream, you are the maker and intelligent being with knowledge of your creation. In fact, whatever you are seeing in dream is your own knowledge. Out of your knowledge only it is created. So, the whole creation, you are the maker and you are the creation. You are the maker and material of the dream world. So that dream experience basically is a window for us to understand this Vedic teaching that all that is here is Ishvara. He is both maker and material. So, and therefore, since it is that, you can worship as he, you can worship as she. From the standpoint of the maker, you worship the Ishvara as he. From the standpoint of the material, you worship as she. We have both the types of festivals. And in fact, maker and material are not separate. That's what we see. In Dakshinamurti, you will see half is Ardhanarishvara, they call. So one part of that you have to see there. So one kundalam in the ear is bigger, one is small. He and she, etc. So anyway, so there is no real difference. Frankly speaking, you can invoke him as a he or she. All that is here is basically Ishvara. Means any phenomena in the creation is also Ishvara. And so you can invoke Ishvara as a phenomena. You can invoke Ishvara in a given phenomena. I will tell you. You invoke Ishvara as a given phenomena like a sun. One phenomena in the world. The air is another phenomena, the earth is another phenomena. All different phenomena are there. You can worship Ishvara because everything is ultimately his manifestation. So you can worship the sun, which is a manifestation of Ishvara. Then when you worship him as a given phenomena, we call Devata. So we call Surya Devata, Vayu Devata, Prithvi Devata, etc., etc. Or you can worship total Ishvara in a phenomena, in a sun. That is also there. Dheyas sada savitru mandala madhyavarti narayanas sarasya sannivishtaha. Those people who have done Sandhya Vandanam, they had this prayer. Dheyah sada savitru mandala madhyavarti. In that solar, disc, in that solar disc, while you worship Lord as a Narayana, etc. So you can worship in a given phenomena as a total, Ishvara, or you can worship the phenomena itself as a Devata, manifestation of Ishvara. From a given aspect, that Ishvara is called Devata, right? So this is what it is. And that is how we worship. We worship both the ways. You say Vayu Devata, or you worship Vayu as a manifestation. In a Vayu itself, you see as Ishvara. Namaste Vayo, Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi. Like that. So all gross elements we worship like that. There's a beauty. All Vedic prayers, Veda itself worship Ishvara in the form of elements. We have temples also in India, of course. So like that, we worship water. Agni, of course, we worship. And even the Prithvi also we worship. Samudra Vasane Devi, Parvatastana Mandali, etc., etc. My point is, so both the ways. Either you look upon Prithvi as a Devata, a given aspect of the Ishvara, then we call Devata. Or in the Prithvi itself, we worship the total Ishvara. We invoke the Ishvara in that principle, intelligent principle, manifestation. So anyway, so similarly, Ishvara, the total, can be invoked in any given form or a name. Like you touch me my whole attention will come. It is not like that. If you touch my finger, my little attention will come. Then you touch my hand, total, then my more attention. No. Same way. So you can invoke Ishvara as a phenomena. You can invoke Ishvara in form of Devata, or you can invoke Ishvara in that principle, the physical principle, intelligent principle. You can invoke him either way. And both the types of worships are there. Meditations are also there. Both the types of meditations in the Shastra, Veda. So our Shastra basically informs us about this truth, and that shows that Ishvara is a matter to be understood, not a matter of belief. This is what we are discussing, right? Because what is seen and the very seer, all that is Ishvara, then that requires an understanding. When scientists say energy is matter or matter is energy, it's not a belief. It's a matter to be understood, right? They also equate E is equal to mc square, etc. So equation is to be analyzed and both the sides to be understood as equal in equation. So Ishvara is not a... That's how Veda laughs when somebody says, I believe in God. No. Belief is something, before knowledge, subject to verification. When you know, you may change your belief. That's not the case here. Neither it is non-verifiable belief, neither it is verifiable belief, neither it is it's a knowledge, but indirect knowledge. No. Because all that is there is Ishvara. All that is there is only two things, subject and object. You are not a matter of belief. I believe that I am there. Nobody can say that. I believe that what I perceive that I believe. No. It's perceptible thing. Anyway. But Swamiji, this is a very lofty vision. How can we imbibe this vision? This vision, all that is here is Ishvara, is to be imbibed in layers. That has been told in the Shastra. You can imbibe this vision. No one can imbibe this vision right away in a day. No one. No one. It should be imbibed slowly in layers. Because ultimately it's a Ishvara manifest. Right? And manifestations, layers are there, levels are there, you can say. For our understanding, not that levels are there as such. So, basically that levels of manifestation, one by one, we understand it in the form of a Ishvara. And then you get a complete vision of Ishvara, ultimately. And that we will see in the evening. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.